A single wrong choice could destroy everything. A loving sister, surrounded by charming men, slowly walking toward a future where she will be betrayed, abandoned, and left alone. And the only person who knows this fate is trapped in the body of a fragile little girl who shouldn't even matter. She's too young to be taken seriously, too weak to fight directly, and yet she's the only one standing between her sister and ruin. So what can she do? Cry, act innocent, manipulate, and quietly tear apart every dangerous connection before it's too late. And as she clenches her small hands, forcing a smile that hides a grown woman's thoughts, the main character remembers when everything began. The girl is Liliana Blanchette, the main character's younger sister. The older sister's name is Juliana Blanchette. She asks to eat a carrot, and the younger sister agrees. The heroine realizes she has woken up in the body of her little-known younger sister, but her irritation is directed at the main character. Juliana has a harem of 4 men who have been in love with her since their days at Delir Academy. The first is Rowan Cleone, who used to look after her because of their rivalry. After the wedding, he began to despise and ignore her. Later, he lied about his love while seeing someone else on the side. The girl decides he cannot be trusted, despite his status as a hero. She won't let this marriage happen. Just then, a meeting with Rowan is announced. Liliana realizes her sister is turning to Rowan Cleone. He asks about the child. Juliana introduces Lily. Lily calls him uncle, and he's shocked. He's 10 years older. Why call him brother? With a smile, she introduces herself. She's 8 years old, Liliana Blanchette. Rowan is surprised by her resemblance to Juliana and apologizes. The heroine is delighted. He's already making mistakes. Juliana asks the purpose of his visit, and he asks for a favor. He looks at Lily, and she thinks he's hiding his request. After all, her presence is getting in the way, even though she wasn't there in the original. Lily decides to stay and listen, while he hesitates. She asks directly, dismissing his words as nonsense. He explains. Her father won't grant the title without an engagement. That is why he asks Juliana to be his temporary fiancée. Lily realizes this is where the original plot begins. She breaks a cookie to get her sister's attention and innocently asks what an engagement is. Juliana explains. It's a promise to be together forever. Lily thinks her sister chose him because she wanted to be the first, and immediately asks if her sister will leave her. Juliana tries to object, but Lily reminds her about the mansion. That means they won't be able to see each other. Juliana is at a loss. Lily asks tearfully if her sister will abandon her. Juliana hugs her and denies it. Then she turns down Rowan, citing her concern for her sister. Lily is angry. She won't let him use Juliana. He suggests a nanny, but Lily is against it. Juliana finally refuses and apologizes. Lily complains of dizziness, pretending to be sick. Juliana takes her away, apologizing to Rowan. Lily sticks her tongue out at him and swears she'll interfere. Later, she feels extremely tired. Juliana summons all the doctors in the capital. Lily thinks, I can't get sick this often. This is a last resort. Juliana asks if playing with dolls is boring. Lily replies that it's a little boring. And she thinks, watching her sister is more interesting. She notices, Yuli has green eyes while hers are silver. But there's almost nothing about Liliana in the novella. Now she is Liliana herself, independent of the past. In the future, Juliana will lose her sister. Lily apologizes, hiding the truth about her rebirth. She says she didn't finish her carrot. Juliana pulls her cheeks and teaches her to finish her food. Lily thinks her sister is so strong. Yuli suggests playing hide and seek. Lily agrees, excited about the game. She hides in the bushes, surprised at herself. And she hears footsteps. But it's not her sister. It's another man. He asks if she is Juliana's sister. He is one of the suitors, the intelligent archduke. He fell in love with Juliana at first sight. His name is Michael Evans. Lily pretends not to know him. He says she and her sister look alike. Lily replies, You shouldn't cling to strangers. He praises her manners and offers to help her up. She's refusing. She's playing hide and seek. He claims he's already found her. Lily is angry, but he pulls out a box of muffins. He offers them to her, saying he bought them for her. Lily is surprised. He's not just kind to Juliana. Later, Yulia notices that there are a lot of guests. Lily realizes the plot has begun. She eats the muffins and enjoys the taste. But Yuli takes the sweets away. They're unhealthy. Lily understands the reason for the restrictions. Michael says that children need to eat more. Yuli objects. Lily is in poor health. He insists that appetite is important. Yuli says that Lily only likes sweets. Lily thinks he'd better come up with a better argument. Michael smiles and mentions Yuli's love of desserts. He offers a chocolate muffin, and Lily grabs it. She eats it and thinks, you can't bribe her with sweets. Yuli forbids her from eating too much again. Michael mentions Rowan's visit. Lily understands his motives. Yuli talks about the engagement proposal. Michael holds back his emotions, while Lily wants a muffin. But she decides to act like a child. She asks for something sweet, but is refused. She complains that she won't get any tomorrow either. Yuli remains firm. Michael suggests discussing the meeting. Yuli agrees. It's a serious matter. He says she should attend. Yuli replies that she'll take care of Lily first. Lily watches and suspects his intentions, but her little sister seems to want to attend the gathering too, and if Michael comes by more often, she'll have more reasons to enjoy the desserts. The lady immediately turns to her little sister and thinks she shouldn't give up everything for her sake. She's genuinely sorry that things have turned out this way. The girl asks if her little sister will help this man. The blonde man is clearly offended by being called, quote, uncle. But Lillian calmly says that helping is a good thing, especially since she won't have to part with her. The guy confirms that she's right, since he'll be coming over himself. The girl realizes that he caught on quickly. That's just the kind of person he is. Then the lady agrees and says that if her little sister helps him, just as she helps her, she'll be all for it. The lady looks at her little sister, smiles, hugs her, and says tenderly how sweet she is. Meanwhile, the main character looks at the man and thinks that this fool should behave normally toward her. She agreed not because she liked him, but because her little sister wants to work. And, of course, he can bring desserts. The guy replies that everything is great. When he leaves, the main character thinks this is almost a perfect ending. She gets the desserts, and Juliana gets the job. Michael gets a chance to be with Juliana, but she won't let anything come of it. He shouldn't think he's got her hooked with sweets. A few days later, on a quiet afternoon, the main character is craving dessert again. She wanders around the mansion, trying not to run into her little sister. She needs a dessert, because the chocolate cupcake she just ate has only whetted her appetite even more. Suddenly, the young lady hears a voice. Someone says that people who look like her little sister are very sweet and offers her a cookie. But when the girl turns around, she is startled to see a hand waving in front of her. The hand also tells her to make sure she says her little brother gave her the cookies. The girl screams and thinks this man is clearly out of his mind. The lady runs off, and the man asks Lily not to be afraid, assuring her that her brother isn't bad at all. The girl calls for her sister, but the guy asks her not to call her, since he hasn't made up with her yet. He says he'd like to reveal himself completely, but Leah keeps her boundaries too strictly. And again, he asks her not to be afraid and to take the cookie. The girl, still in shock, asks if he even understands who he is. Immediately, she realizes she phrased that too much like an adult. The guy assures her that he's a good person, and after all, these are the cookies she likes. He adds that they'll be friends from now on. Lillian, meanwhile, realizes she has a hunch about whether this is magic. Then this guy is most likely one of Juliana's classmates. Plus, he reminds her of one of the main characters. He's that one-of-a-kind idiot from Delir Academy, the complete opposite of Juliana. But at the same time, he's surprisingly close to her. His name is Alan Lowell, and the girl thinks he's an even bigger idiot than he seemed. The guy yells for Lily to wait, but the girl realizes he won't give up, whether she hears him or not. A short while later, someone apologizes to Juliana and says it's his fault for not keeping an eye on Lowell. The heroine notices that the young man has an unusual build, a calm expression, and a soft voice. There is nothing superfluous about him. His name is Cedric Royston. Juliana asks if he was the one who brought Alan, and the main character realizes that everything fits. That very hand sticking out of the wall belonged to this very guy. He was her favorite character in the novella, but not anymore. In real life, people like him are just interesting to watch. If he had fully emerged from the wall back then, he would have been immediately considered a trespasser. But now that doesn't matter anymore. The girl remembers that this used to happen often. Alan would get into trouble, Juliana would get angry, and Cedric would act as a mediator. Lillian is surprised that her little sister was so close to him. But still, it's his fault for scaring her. The cookies had nothing to do with it, so the only thing left to do is eat them. But her sister immediately says she can have no more than 5 cookies. Alan remarks that Lily is even cuter up close. The girl asks how he knows her pet name. He replies that he's heard it often on the road, since they've talked so much. The heroine is surprised that he remembered everything, but realizes that he spoke to her as if he had seen her before. And she's right. He's a mage. The only question is whether Lillian herself possesses magic. The novella didn't mention anything about this, unlike Juliana. Juliana possessed powerful magic thanks to her lineage. Remembering this, the girl thinks that her little sister might have set up magical boundaries around the mansion. Alan says that the lady's little sister is very sweet. The main character doesn't understand why he's looking at her if he came to see Juliana. The guy adds that, in any case, he's here to apologize. Juliana asks what exactly he's apologizing for. The main character, looking at her face, thinks that her younger sister is really angry, and she starts wondering what he's done. Alan continues. He apologizes for not fulfilling her request to examine the sick Lily, and he disappeared without saying a word. The main character recalls that this is exactly why she liked him in the novella. He had his own way of looking at things. It seems that when Lillian was sick, Juliana did indeed ask him for help, but it wasn't described in the book, so she didn't know about it. If Alan had cured Lily back then, perhaps she wouldn't have ended up in her body. The girl asks why he did that. The guy explains that there was a clash at the border. He was sent there urgently because there weren't enough healing mages. The girl says he could have at least written a letter. The young man replies sheepishly that he's been too busy. But the heroine doesn't think that's an excuse. He could have sent the letter anyway. He's clearly at fault. The lady turns her gaze to Cedric. She notes that she finds him physically attractive, but she shouldn't mention this to her little sister. She needs to find someone who will truly make her happy. And it's also important to figure out what Cedric is really like, since the book said almost nothing about him. The boy says that from now on he'll come by to apologize, check on Lily, and play with her. The girl realizes that they're both masters at finding excuses to come over, and they came up with some pretty convenient excuses. At that moment, Cedric also wants to say something. The main character realizes why she knows almost nothing about him. It's all because of his shy nature and caution. He says he's glad the lady is all right. Cedric is a character who has barely been written about, even though he was a candidate for the lead role. He's attentive and popular, but he wasn't her type before. But seeing him in person, she realizes he's actually quite nice. Even with his shyness, he was the best knight in the Earhart Empire, and the second knight general of the imperial family. Juliana says she'll accept Alan's apology if he examines Lily. The main character thinks her little sister isn't making the best choice. Isn't Cedric better? She thinks he's too indecisive and refers to him as her little brother. The guy is surprised to be called that, and everyone stares at her in shock. The lady tells him to come play with her next time, giving him a chance to prove himself. So Cedric Royston starts visiting them for no particular reason. Michael and Alan come with him. One comes for work, the other to apologize. Although it seems like he has nothing better to do, Alan is constantly hanging around Lily. The girl realizes she just had a checkup very recently. Even free government checkups are conducted once a year, not that often. Lily says she doesn't want to, but the guy insists that her little sister will scold her little brother. The main character corrects him, saying he's her uncle. He realizes she might run away, but just walks up to her. He stops Lily and says she'll only get dessert after he's checked her out. The girl is angry and thinks she has absolutely no chance of escaping. At that moment, she notices Cedric and wonders if he's really here to knit. She walks up to him and asks if he's busy. The guy looks at her, a little confused. He clearly took her literally. The girl notices this. He asks if she doesn't like that he's coming. She says she likes it and thinks he should visit them more often. He's the best option for her little sister, but he has to make the choice himself. The guy says he likes Lily too, and the main character can't believe it. She didn't expect someone like him to change so much with a sword in his hands, but from here, it's a good vantage point to watch Michael. Michael flirts easily and naturally, without crossing any lines. Juliana is completely focused on her work. The girl realizes that her little sister is no pushover. That's why Cedric and Alan don't bother her. Alan tries to get Lily's attention, but she pretends not to notice him and talks to Cedric. He explains that it's knitting and suggests she give it a try. The main character thinks he's the perfect husband material for her sister. He's handsome, modest, and very sweet. Alan still insists on the examination. The girl is annoyed, not understanding where he gets so much enthusiasm from. She doesn't like it when magic passes through her body. He says this is the last time, but she immediately replies that he'll do it again tomorrow and the day after. He laughs, calling her smart. He tries to persuade her in various ways, but she isn't having any of it. He thinks she's just a regular kid. Then Alan proposes a deal. If he lets him examine her, next time he'll bring a big cake and won't tell anyone. The girl agrees immediately and demands that he do it quickly. She thinks that if he lies, he'll be in big trouble. She's ready to tell her sister everything so he won't come near her again. In any case, their relationship is in her hands. The guy asks her to be patient for a little while. After a while, he says it's all over and gives her a piece of candy for her efforts. The main character reminds him about the big cake, and he agrees. After that, she begins to carefully braid the lady's hair. Meanwhile, the girl yawns, but a few moments later suddenly hears a strange knocking sound. At that very moment, she snaps back to her senses and looks over at her sister and Michael. The guy calmly says that it looks like they can wrap up the meeting for today, and at that very moment, the girl and the two guys jump up from their seats. The main character immediately rushes over to her little sister. Lifting her up in her arms, she asks warmly if Lily missed her while she was busy. Lily replies that she didn't, because Cedric is a really good knitter. Juliana asks with interest if that's true and glances at the guy. He just shudders awkwardly. And then he blushes completely, and the girl remarks with a smile that it seems their Lily really does have a crush on Cedric. The main character thinks her sister is making it too obvious. Then again, for the heroines of a reverse harem, this seems to be the default setting. After all, they lack any insight when it comes to love, and they clearly have a long road ahead of them. At that moment, Alan asks, what about the uncle who always brought cookies, and checked to make sure she was healthy? But the girl just turns away and suddenly notices another person. It turns out to be Michael. The main character is startled and wishes he wouldn't smile so eerily, because it seems to her that he's figured out there's a 20-year-old soul inside this body. Meanwhile, the blonde guy says that if he wants to impress Lily, he should learn how to knit. Lillian sighs heavily and realizes that he never doubted her at all, which means she needs to keep her guard up around this guy. A few days later, someone greets Lily again, and the guy asks with a smile if she really doesn't like it when the old man comes by. The girl gives Michael a cold look and replies that she and her little sister were just about to eat. In her mind, she wonders why this idiot keeps showing up and ruining their lunch. A little earlier, someone had woken Lily up, to put it mildly, telling her it was time to get up. The main character realizes that it's her little sister and immediately wishes her good morning. She notices that her sister's beauty is becoming more radiant with each passing day. As she gets up, she asks if the uncles will be coming today. Juliana replies that Alan will most likely stop by in the evening to check on her. The girl immediately says she doesn't want that, but then she remembers that he promised to bring a cake next time, which means it's today. And she'll finally be able to enjoy a big, delicious cake. Meanwhile, her sister asks what hairstyle to do today, since she can't keep doing ponytails all the time. We already had ponytails yesterday, so it's hard to decide. Maybe we should do high braids. Lillian immediately refuses, knowing that they give her a headache. Then Juliana suggests a half ponytail and begins to carefully work with her hair. The main character watches her sister and wonders why she looks so serious while braiding her hair. But that doesn't really matter. If her sister likes it, then she does too. This eases the awkwardness between them, and the morning passes peacefully. But very soon, Michael shows up and suggests they have lunch together, saying he didn't have time to eat himself because he was rushing over here. The girl is inwardly indignant, because now their quiet lunch is about to turn into a real battle for attention. The guy looks at her with a pitying expression, and the heroine thinks to herself that no matter what, leaving him hungry is still too cruel. And right away, she wonders how he even knows that Koreans are weak when it comes to food. She says that if he sits far away, they can go together, and she realizes she'll agree anyway, because she has too kind a heart. The blonde guy notices that it seems Lily doesn't like him very much yet. He suggests she call him little brother, just like she calls Royston, and asks if she likes the desserts he brings. The main character admits that they're incredibly delicious, and then the guy asks what exactly she doesn't like about him. She realizes that the problem is that she dislikes him so much that she can't trust him with her little sister. The guy asks her not to hate him too much, and the girl realizes he's hinting at future meetings. The lady thinks it's all absurd, and a little while later she's already lying next to her sister. She thinks she's survived a lunch that felt like a real battle, and this fool is even planning to buy dessert. Juliana says she hopes Lily's picky eating habits won't get any worse. At that moment, the butler approaches Juliana and informs her that a guest has arrived. The girl says that if it's Michael, there's no rush, so it must be someone else. As they approach, they see Cedric, who immediately greets them with a smile. He turns to Juliana, and she notices the boy standing nearby and asks who he is. Cedric replies that it's Joshua. He brought him over so he could play with Lily and asks the boy to say hello. But the boy, upon approaching, immediately declares that he doesn't play with ugly people. The main character wonders if he's actually decided to stand his ground and immediately resolves to show him just how much influence she has. She turns to her sister and tells her straight out that she doesn't like this boy, and she doesn't even like the little brother who brought him along. Cedric is shocked. He immediately turns to his nephew, trying to figure out what happened. But Joshua asks if she even knows who might like her. The girl realizes that this kid is nothing but trouble. Of course, an 8-year-old shouldn't be worrying about such things, but calling her ugly is going too far. After her soul transferred, when she saw herself in the mirror, she knew for sure that she looked incredibly cute. She asks why he called her ugly, and the boy replies that if she's ugly, then she's ugly. Does she really think she's pretty? Cedric is clearly uncomfortable and says that Joshua shouldn't speak that way. Then he apologizes to Juliana, explaining that her parents had temporarily entrusted the child to him, and he couldn't leave her alone or take her to the palace, so he brought her along. The girl replies that she's fine, but then looks at her sister. The main character smiles and says she's fine too. Then she points at the boy and declares that he's ugly, after which she turns around and says she's going inside. She adds that she wants to eat the dessert Michael bought, and just then someone speaks to Lily again. They suggest they walk hand in hand, but she immediately refuses, thinking he's just trying to take advantage of the situation to get closer to her. Turning around and looking at Cedric, she notices that he looks as if he's about to cry. Then she tells her little brother to come in too, realizing that this time she'll help him because of his personality and his love of knitting. But still, she wonders why such a gentle man has such a difficult nephew. After a while, the main character realizes that no matter how hard it is, this is just too much. Her sister tells her that today she'll only have 2 desserts. The girl recalls that it used to be 5, but she's firmly told that no means no. Lillian realizes that her charm didn't work, but there's nothing she can do about it. At least it's good that Alan will bring a big cake tonight. She thinks she just needs to hold out until tonight, while her sister offers Joshua a dessert and invites him to have some too. The main character glares at him and wonders why he's eating something she's not allowed to have, since Michael bought it especially for her. The boy looks at the tart in his hands, is silent for a moment, and then smirks. And he thanks the lady. The girl notices that smirk right away. She thinks he considers himself the winner, now that he's gotten the tart. Juliana tells Lily that she has her own dessert, so she shouldn't look at her friend like that. The main character says, almost in tears, that these are her tarts, but she's told that in any case. Today she can only eat 2, and since she loves tarts, so does Joshua. And as a good girl, she should be considerate of her friend's feelings. The main character forces a smile, thinking her sister is trying to teach her patience and is acting like a real teacher. But in reality, that's not the case. She realizes that Joshua isn't eating out of kindness, but simply wants to upset her. Juliana addresses her by her full name, and the girl realizes in shock that this is serious. This is no longer a sweet gesture, but a sign that her sister won't back down on the issue of desserts. The girl is inwardly outraged, considering this a real betrayal, and says she hates her little sister. She decides she won't talk to anyone until she's allowed to eat 3 tarts. Lillian realizes that this looks silly, but she's only 8 years old, and if that boy hadn't been brought here, everything would be different. She wonders what to do next, since Cedric won't help her, and Juliana won't give in to her whims. There's only one option left. Michael. Even though it's unpleasant, she'll team up with him for now. She asks if he bought these tarts for her, and even calls him little brother. Everyone around her looks at her in surprise. The main character glances at Joshua and realizes that he miscalculated by trying to play dirty on someone else's turf. Michael replies that yes, he bought everything for Lily, and she realizes that everything is going according to plan, even though she still doesn't like him. She asks if she can consider all the tarts hers, and gets an affirmative answer. The girl notes happily that this is exactly what she wanted to hear, mentally giving him points. Then she turns to Joshua and asks if he wants to try some dessert. The boy stares greedily at the tarts, and she says that if he wants some, he has to admit she's pretty. He immediately blushes and exclaims that she's not pretty, and the girl feels her pride stung. After all, he said it again, as if he didn't appreciate her looks at all. Then she pulls the desserts toward herself and declares that he won't get anything else. Juliana asks in surprise what she's doing, but Michael calmly tells her not to interfere. He notes that adults shouldn't interfere in children's games, while the main character takes a dessert and starts eating. She enjoys the pleasure of eating it all herself and, looking at the boy, says he's a liar. Because she really is beautiful, and he tries to argue again. But she cuts him off and says that if he tells the truth, he'll get all the tarts, but if he doesn't, she'll eat them all herself. The girl realizes that, apparently, even at home they don't let him eat as many desserts as he wants. And so the question is, which will win out? 5 cakes or his little pride? The young man stands up and decides he'll have to be patient for a bit. And then he suddenly says that the lady is beautiful. The main character immediately smiles and asks if he thinks she's pretty. The guy replies that they didn't agree on that, but the lady reminds him that the tarts are hers after all. And then she realizes that he's just a kid, so there's no need for him to try too hard. It won't work out anyway. In the end, the young man does say that she's sweet, and the girl notes with satisfaction that everything is going as it should. After all, that's the price of his pride, and Lily always keeps her promises. Meanwhile, her sister just sighs quietly. Michael notices that Lily is somewhat like him, and Cedric simply nods silently. The lady looks away and thinks that no matter how much she might wish otherwise, he won't get Juliana. Their union is already out of the question for her. After a while, the main character thinks it's all quite fun. Now she understands why adults like to play pranks on children. It's refreshing and even enjoyable. After a while, the lady says her name is Lillian. She adds that he can call her Lily to make things easier. Since she's introduced herself, it's his turn now, but the young man immediately objects. He asks why he should do that since she already knows his name. Then the lady reminds him of the big cake she's about to eat. The blonde boy looks embarrassed but introduces himself anyway. The lady smiles and thinks that teasing the child turned out to be even more fun, especially when it's Joshua. Just then, someone greets Lily, and she recognizes Alan's voice. The others turn their attention to him as well. He asks if she ate well, and the girl thinks how loud he is, as if their house had turned into a gathering place. Lady looks at Alan and reminds him of his promise. He whispers quietly that he hid the cake using magic so that Juliana wouldn't take it, and Lily could eat in peace. The heroine smiles and thinks that's great, because he keeps his word too. Alan looks at Joshua and asks who the boy is, since he reminds him of Cedric in some way. Cedric replies that he's his nephew, but Alan is still surprised as to why he brought him here. Cedric asks him to wait a moment, saying he smells something, and Alan immediately looks away. Then he approaches Lily, turns to Joshua, and promises to wrap things up as quickly as possible. The blonde boy immediately asks what exactly he's going to do. The main character realizes that this boy is really just a child. When told to run, he doesn't run. and when told not to touch something, he's bound to touch it. Even now, even though Alan told him to step back, the young man takes a step forward. The girl just sighs. She tells Joshua to listen carefully because it will be painful and scary. And she adds that if he stands so close, he'll be very scared. The young man immediately starts to tremble. Alan picks up on her act and also looks at the boy with a serious expression. The lady ramps up the pressure even more and shouts for him to run away quickly. The boy immediately cries out, and he runs off to his uncle, while the main character laughs and calls Joshua a silly boy. She realizes that this is incredibly fun, and Alan notices that Lily has quite a temper. Juliana watches this with a touch of concern and remarks that Lily is especially cheerful today. The main character looks at Joshua, who has clung to Cedric in a huff. She wonders if she's gone too far. Then she looks at her little sister and hopes she won't take it too hard. After all, she's just joking, and her social skills are top-notch. Besides, later she'll treat him to a big slice of cake. A little while later, her sister asks Lily to say hello, because from now on, all these boys will be her friends. The main character is in shock, wondering if this is really a whole operation to find friends for her. After all, she only wants her little sister, and she says she doesn't need friends. But Juliana replies that having friends means twice as many desserts, and the young lady immediately changes her mind. Lillian wonders if her little sister is worrying too much about her social life. But the thought of a double serving of dessert quickly puts everything into perspective. The girl looks around and wonders where all these kids came from, and why there isn't a single girl among them. She had asked about this a little earlier, and her little sister explained that the boys had brought their nephews and younger brothers because they don't have any sisters. But Lily will still be able to make friends with them, right? That's what Juliana thinks. The main character thinks it's a little sad to hear that with such a smile, but there's nothing she can do about it. So it turns out these kids were brought here by the very same candidates for the lead role. The girl decides that this is actually a good thing, and she'll prove to her little sister that she can get along just fine without their help. The lady waves to them and says her name is Lily. One of the boys introduces himself right away. He says his name is Aiden Evans. The main character realizes he's Michael's nephew. His personality is almost a carbon copy of Cedric's, and she already feels like teasing him a little. The other boy says his name is Luca Lowell, Alan's younger brother. He adds that the lady is very sweet. The main character remarks that he looks just like a younger version of Alan. If someone had told her he was his son, she would have believed it. Juliana is delighted and suggests they play together, but the girl immediately realizes that's a bad idea. She needs to keep an eye on the men who are showing interest in her little sister, so she can't leave her alone. At that moment, Cedric approaches from behind, and he suggests they play together. The girl wonders why he stayed at all, and wonders if he's planning to compete. After a while, she asks if he has anything else to do. But when she sees the look of disappointment on his face, she quickly softens and asks if he needs to be with his little sister. He replies that he doesn't want to get in Juliana's way, and that he enjoys spending time with Lily. Juliana comes over and thanks him, since she was worried the children would be left alone. The main character looks at him and thinks he's too shy, and is that really his true answer? But at least Michael isn't flirting with Juliana anymore while they're working. Now the lady looks at the other boys and thinks about how she might play a prank on them. A few days later, the blonde boy complains that Lily is teasing him again. Juliana says she needs to get along with Joshua, but the main character thinks that's an unfair accusation. She asks if her little sister really doesn't believe her, even though she realizes she was just joking around a bit. She just didn't expect Joshua to run off and complain right away. Juliana gently says she hopes Lily gets along well with her friends and asks if she's asking too much. The girl replies that no, and Juliana adds that it's time for her to go and that Lily will manage. The main character realizes she's doing a great job playing her part and turns to Joshua, but he flinches immediately, and she realizes she didn't mean to hurt his feelings. Recalling her sister's words, she decides to be kinder and asks if he dislikes her behavior. She sees that he can't say no because of his pride. Then she says she won't do that anymore, but notices that he has become even gloomier. The young man suddenly asks if she is really 8 years old, and she confirms it. Then he asks why she doesn't call him Big Brother. The girl thinks he's acting like a little old man, and she remembers that people usually address each other by name, but she doesn't do that with Cedric and Michael. One of the boys asks if it really matters that much, and she replies that since Luca and Aiden are her age, they should call him that too. The boy nods, and the girl agrees that she'll call him Big Brother. But then she immediately asks when his birthday is. Another boy says it's in April. The main character thanks him and quickly does the math in her head. It's May now, and her birthday is in July, so she'll only have to call him that for 2 months. The lady starts laughing and says that he's only 2 months older, a real 2-month older big brother. She falls to the floor laughing, unable to stop. One of the boys asks her to calm down. Joshua yells at her not to call him that, but she replies that he asked for it. The lady is still laughing, and someone says he's about to cry. And sure enough, the boy starts crying and screaming loudly. The main character, panicked, begs him to stop. After all, if he keeps it up, the adults will come running right away. And sure enough, Juliana comes over. She asks what happened, and the girl realizes that things didn't turn out the way she wanted. She teased him without meaning any harm, but now there's no fixing it. If he says it's her fault, she'll be left without dessert. And then she remembers sad moments, like when the professor gave her the worst grade. Because of this, she lost her chance at a 4-year scholarship. The main character decides to take action and starts crying too. She thinks she did everything she could, since Cedric even said it was Joshua's fault. But Juliana looks at her and says that she is now forbidden to eat desserts. The girl realizes that her greatest joy has vanished. Lily's father, the Earl of Blanchett, was a knight, but he loved knowledge. That's why the mansion had huge labyrinthine study rooms. Her parents had left and no one had cleaned up there. This spot was perfect for hiding. She realizes she's acting childish, but she needs to let her emotions out. The girl feels a twinge of guilt and decides to stay there until evening. Suddenly, she hears someone coming in. The main character wonders who it is. Could it be that Juliana found her, or didn't even try to look for her? After all, no one called her by name. At that moment, one of the boys approaches her and asks if it's Lily. The girl recognizes Aiden, and he says everyone is looking for her. He says they need to call the others quickly. But just then, the lady grabs him by his clothes. The guy loses his balance and falls. While the girl wonders to herself, did I really pull him that hard? It doesn't feel like it to me. She immediately gestures for him to be quieter, but the guy notices that her voice, on the contrary, sounds louder. The main character cautiously peeks down, and the guy asks if she's hiding there. The girl looks at Aiden and quietly tells him not to tell anyone, or else she'll take all his desserts away and eat them herself. He agrees right away, and the lady asks what he's even doing here, since she wasn't expecting him today. The young man explains that his uncle told him to try to cheer her up, since she'd been forbidden to have dessert. But since she's gone, he decided to just read. Lily realizes that he's heard about her disappearance, but she's still thinking only about books. He reminds her a lot of Cedric, even though he's actually from Michael's family. At the same time, the guy says with a slight smile that he's glad he found her. The girl notices the book in his hands. It's a textbook on political science and the political system. She's surprised. Does he really read that kind of thing? Lily thinks about it. After all, he's her age, and comes to the conclusion that he's a true genius. He's only 8 years old, and he's already studying politics. It seems that's how they raise children in the Evans family. The boy calmly replies that no, everyone is just like him. But it's obvious that Aiden is a gifted child, and not at all like Michael. The girl asks if he's going to read here, and whether she should leave, but the boy grabs her hand and tells her she can stay. Lily is shocked and wonders if he really likes her. Maybe this is his first love and a childhood friendship. Besides, she has a face that's hard not to love. She herself likes the way she looks, just like Juliana's face. But right now, even her looks aren't enough to melt the coldness in her heart. Aiden notices her expression and asks what she's thinking about. Then he asks if she wants dessert and offers to bring it. The girl wonders if he can really do that, and he replies that if she asks her uncle, she'll get dessert. He says he'll be back soon, but the lady stops him, realizing that Michael will figure it all out right away and tell her sister. She adds that there's a pantry on the right where her sister hides the desserts. She saw it herself. The girl asks him to bring the desserts from there, but to keep it a secret from Uncle Michael. The young man agrees and is about to leave, but the lady stops him again. She unexpectedly kisses him on the cheek and tells him to come back safely. The girl realizes it's just a sign of gratitude, and Aiden instantly blushes. The main character smiles, thinking that a child's first love is very sweet. A little while later, she stretches contentedly and realizes she's had a good meal. She leans toward Aiden, rests her head on him, and says she wants to sleep. Then she asks if she can lie down on his lap and if he can put a book on her face. The guy asks if she really wants to sleep, since it would be better to lie down on the bed, but she reminds him that she's hiding. Closing her eyes, she thinks that maybe he's fallen in love with her, but he'd better grow up and come back in 10 years. Then she'll at least think about it. After a while, someone calls out to Lily and asks her to wake up. The girl recognizes the voice and realizes that they found her after all. She wonders why she even did this if she isn't ready to take responsibility, and even considers pretending to be asleep. Her sister gently but firmly tells her to get up, knowing full well that she isn't asleep. The main character slowly sits up with a smile, but her sister suddenly gasps. She can't believe what's happening, and the girl realizes the situation is serious because her sister is genuinely angry. The woman hugs her tightly and asks if she understands how worried they were about her. Soon she starts crying, and the main character is at a loss, not knowing what to do. She thinks about the best course of action, since she didn't expect her sister to be so upset, even though deep down she knew it would be this way. Her sister asks if she really did it because of the ban on desserts and reminds her how long they searched for her. The main character's expression changes, and she promises she won't tease Joshua anymore and will start eating normally. She sincerely apologizes and asks her sister not to cry, realizing how much they mean to each other. But she still wonders if she has the right to accept this love, since she isn't her real sister. She realizes she doesn't know how to go back, and if she could, she would have left this body already. So she decides to be a better person from now on. Juliana says that Lily did the wrong thing, because everyone was looking for her, including Michael. Of course, they're also to blame for not checking more thoroughly, but even if her sister upset her, she asks her not to disappear like that again. The girl agrees, realizing that much has already been ruined in this story. She realizes that, by ending up in the book, she has not only ruined her own life, but is also affecting the fates of others. She can't go back, and even if there were a way, she doesn't know it, so she decides to do everything she can to make her sister happy. The girl realizes that she got distracted by childish games and forgot her real goal, to protect Juliana from the cruel plot. Now she has even more opportunities to do so, which means it's time to take control of this cunning fool. After a while, the blonde boy invites Lily to play with the other kids, but she replies that she'll stay with her sister and watch. Juliana says that if she wants to, she can stay, and the lady happily agrees. The girl strokes her head and asks her to be quiet, to which she obediently agrees. The main character realizes that just being here is already a success and it's time to move on to the next step. She decides to show off her drawing skills and paint the most beautiful Juliana. And next to her, herself. In her imagination, they live happily in the Blanchett mansion without Michael and Alan. She knows little about Cedric, so she simply draws knitting needles and yarn. And, of course, she adds her favorite desserts. After a while, the drawing is finished. She realizes that this is the work of an 8-year-old child, but she proudly shows it to her sister anyway. In her mind, it's a masterpiece that would bring even Picasso to tears. Juliana asks in surprise, "Did you really draw that?" She praises her and suggests Michael take a look too. The girl realizes she didn't mean to interrupt, but she likes the praise. Juliana points out that there are even knitting needles in the picture, since Lily likes Cedric. Michael points out that there are no parents in the drawing, and the girl realizes that he deliberately changed the subject. She replies that she only drew herself and her sister, and Juliana looks a little sad, saying that her parents are busy. Michael reminds her that they're on an expedition, and Juliana says she wrote to them but didn't get a reply. He offers to send someone over if she's worried, and the girl asks, hopefully, if that's possible. Then he turns to Lily and asks if she misses her parents. She thinks he's skillfully manipulating people. But she replies that she does, even though she's having fun with her sister Leah and her little brother Cedric. The guy visibly tenses up, and the girl realizes he didn't expect to hear Cedric's name again. She adds that Cedric used to carry her on his shoulders, and her sister asks in surprise if that's true. Lily goes on to describe how they played hide and seek and how he retrieved a ball from a tree. Juliana notes that he's trying hard. Michael agrees and immediately offers to play with Lily. The girl agrees, thinking she's got him hooked. After all, if he wants to be with Juliana, then he'll have to deal with her first. The next day, Alan arrives at the estate. He asks if Michael is there, and at that moment, the girl notices the bag in his hands. She moves closer and, sniffing, tries to guess what the dessert is. Luca laughs, saying she's like a puppy. Juliana enters the room and says that Michael was too tired yesterday from playing with Lily. Alan is surprised, but then smiles and says he's also determined to win. Juliana remarks that it's just his nature, and Alan recalls how Evans once tripped and fell. The main character peeks inside the bag and realizes there are puddings inside. Great choice. And since Michael isn't here today, that means Aiden isn't either, which means there'll be more pudding to go around. Alan says it would be great if he just stopped coming altogether. The girl asks if he really still doesn't get along with Michael. He replies that his relationship with Cedric is even worse. But what he dislikes most is Rowan. The girl thinks that Rowan hasn't shown up since being rejected and seems weak-willed, but she has no intention of helping Alan. She turns to her sister and asks if she can spend the whole day with her. Then she suggests playing hide and seek with Luke and Cedric, and later with Joshua. Alan asks, "What about me?" The girl replies with a smile that they'll invite Uncle too. The man smiles, but Luca suddenly reminds her that she had said before that she doesn't like hide and seek. The girl gets annoyed inwardly, because she can't say things like that in front of Julian. He insists that was when he suggested playing with Aiden, but she quickly denies it. Luca keeps arguing, and the girl thinks how annoying he is. He should at least think for a second. Then she points sharply to the side and asks if that's where Cedric is. While everyone is distracted, she grabs Luca by the shoulder and turns him toward her. She gestures to him that if he says another word, she'll eat the whole pudding herself. The boy immediately falls silent, and she calmly tells the adults that she made a mistake. Then she gives him a meaningful look, and he quickly says that he must have gotten it mixed up, and that it was Aiden who didn't like hide and seek. Juliana agrees, remembering that he found Lily in the library. The heroine breathes a sigh of relief, realizing that everything turned out all right, and today she has once again protected her sister's peace of mind. At that moment, the butler addresses Lady Juliana and informs her that the Marquis of Cleone's son is requesting an audience. The main character is in shock, wondering if Rowan has finally decided to show up. She recalls how she just called him weak-willed, and is convinced that he'll never become a proper aristocrat anyway. The lady tells Luke to take the pudding and eat it first. But the girl realizes she needs to do something first. She immediately runs over to her little sister and suggests they go together, sensing that the story is trying to return to its original course. If Rowan intervenes again, everything could go just like in the original. That's why she has to stop it. The little girl is convinced that her sister shouldn't be around such an idiot. But Juliana calmly asks if Lily can play with Luca. The girl realizes it's dangerous. She needs to go with her little sister, or else it could turn out to be a trap. She immediately yells that she doesn't want to. But her sister replies that she'll just have a quick chat and come back, and Lily will be able to eat almost 2 puddings. The main character almost agrees, imagining one with cream and the other chocolate. But she immediately snaps herself out of it. She can't leave her little sister alone, not even for dessert, and she clings to her again. Then Alan says he'll go with them, since he wants to see this guy too. The main character is delighted and thinks this is perfect. Let Alan be a nuisance, she'll just call him little brother. Juliana replies that he can meet with him later, since he's probably here on business. The girl realizes that Rowan will try to exploit her weaknesses again. Alan says he doubts he'll come to see him and suggests they go together. But the girl replies that someone has to watch the children. She asks him to stay and promises to return quickly, hoping everyone will have a good time. When she leaves, Alan is left puzzled. The main character thinks that if Michael were there, he would definitely have talked her out of it. But, as luck would have it, he's not there. Just then, someone else walks into the room. The girl thinks he looks just like that pathetic guy, and wonders if Michael left his nephew with Cedric. She waves at the children. Aiden waves back, but Joshua pointedly turns away. Alan turns to Cedric and asks him to watch the kids, but Cedric asks where he's going. Alan replies that Rowan Cleone has come to see Juliana, and there's no time, so he's leaving first. He asks Cedric to look after the children. The main character is worried that Alan is going alone. If she goes alone, Cedric will stop her. But if they all go together, they can figure something out. And if they get caught, she'll always be able to talk her way out of it. At that moment, she has an idea. She asks the boys if they want to play, and says she won't repeat herself. They set off on a secret mission where no one is supposed to catch them. She declares herself the leader, Cedric the commander, and everyone else a subordinate. Joshua immediately protests and says he wants to be the leader too. Then she offers him her pudding in exchange for his leadership. He agrees immediately, and she notes with satisfaction that everything worked out. A short while later, they're already walking in single file, and the main character realizes they're close to their destination. She wonders if Alan is already inside. And if not, maybe he just got lost. The lady leans against the door, and the others follow her lead. At that moment, she hears her little sister ask if he's offering her to be his partner. The main character yanks the door open and screams that it won't happen, not understanding what nonsense is going on. Juliana asks in surprise what she's doing there and notices Cedric. She asks where Alan is, and the main character replies that he went after her. And she thinks that this fool couldn't even make it here, nearly ruining everything. Juliana asks what's going on, and Cedric explains that they're playing a secret mission. The main character confirms that it was her idea, but immediately asks what that man said. And did he really offer a partnership again? If so, her little sister will leave again. Rowan is silent, but suddenly someone addresses him, and he flinches. This is Cedric. Rowan is clearly feeling the pressure, but Juliana asks him not to scare him. Cedric calmly replies that he's just happy to see her after so long. The main character asks about the partnership again, but Juliana reprimands her for her behavior in front of the guest. Rowan stands up and says that today isn't the best day, and he'll write later. The girl asks him to wait, and the main character thinks that Cedric handled it perfectly. Rowan quickly leaves, promising to write a letter. Juliana turns to Cedric. She says he shouldn't have brought the kids there. The guy immediately apologizes. The main character interrupts and says it was her idea. Juliana asks if she just wanted to say hello to the guest. The girl replies that if her sister stays with this man, she'll go far away. Juliana hugs her and says she won't go anywhere, and she asks why Lily thinks that. At that moment, Cedric speaks to her again. He mentions partnering with her at the banquet in honor of the prince's birthday, and asks if she wants to go with him. The main character is surprised at how bold he's become. She thinks that quiet people sometimes turn out to be the most decisive, and that he has finally mustered the courage. When Juliana tries to mention Rowan, she cuts her off and says she doesn't like him because he's weaker than Cedric. She looks at the boy and thinks that she's doing her best to help him, but he's still just standing there, doing nothing. Then Cedric says that children are allowed at the banquet, so Lily and Joshua can go too. The main character doesn't understand why she should go there with Joshua, but her sister thinks it's a good idea. She asks if Lily likes the idea, and the girl decides to just go along with it. A short while later, Alan bursts in and says he thought he'd teleported into the living room. He wonders why he ended up in the wrong place, and Juliana asks if she hadn't warned him. She explains that the teleportation in the house leads to the basement and wonders why he used it at all. The main character realizes why he didn't show up earlier and decides that next time he'll be more careful. Juliana says she doesn't understand why everyone, including Cedric, dislikes Rowan. Everyone is silent, and the main character thinks that only her sister fails to see the obvious. The lady looks at Joshua, who is enthusiastically eating desserts. He's already had 4 puddings, and 2 of them were hers. If it weren't for Aiden, she would have had them all. The blonde guy covers his puddings and asks why she's looking at him like that. The girl thinks he's greedy and realizes he's going to eat it all himself. Juliana notices that Lily often argues with Joshua, but she gets along with Luca and Aiden. Cedric adds that Joshua has wanted to come here since this morning, and that clearly doesn't sound like someone who doesn't like Lily. The main character starts to wonder, could it be that he actually likes her, and he's just grumbling? Alan asks if Juliana mentioned the banquet. The girl replies that the prince has allowed children Lily's age to attend, and she'll definitely take her along, since she loves sweets. The main character realizes that her sister knows her very well. There will be a huge variety of desserts there, cakes made by top chefs and sweets that are in a league of their own. Alan asks if Luca wants to go, and he agrees right away. Aiden raises his hand too. Juliana says she'll discuss it with Michael, and he surely won't mind. Aiden offers Lily his pudding, and the main character realizes he's doing the right thing. She thanks him and says she likes people who are so thoughtful, and she thinks Joshua could learn a thing or two. He remains silent for a moment. Then he also offers her some pudding and asks if she wants some. The lady is delighted, and Juliana hopes she won't get into trouble at the banquet. The girl insists she'll stay calm, even though she knows these kinds of events scare her a little. But it's a good thing she's still a kid. Then she asks if her sister will be dancing. Juliana replies that if Lily wants to, then yes. The main character asks if her sister will wear a pretty dress, not just something plain. But Juliana says that Lily doesn't have any suitable clothes, and there's almost no time left to go to the boutique. Alan asks if the dress is really that important, and Juliana replies that this is Lily's first ball. That's why she has to look perfect. Later, Michael says that blue would suit Lily better. Juliana thinks pastel shades are better, but they make her look too plain. Her boyfriend adds that dark colors didn't work either. The gray one looked bad. Several hours of shopping have already passed, and her sister suggests that Lily try on one more dress. The girl mentally begs for this madness to stop and remembers that there were no open spots at the boutique. Michael says that blue would be best, and Juliana agrees. The main character realizes that he simply seized the moment and deftly took the initiative. The lady calmly replies that everything is fine and adds that she wants to do it herself. She cautiously asks if it might seem tactless, and the woman is immediately delighted. The main character realizes that with such enthusiasm, this girl is ready to sew 100 dresses for her sister. Michael notes that velvet is heavy and collects dust quickly, so it's better to choose silk. Juliana adds that organza would be suitable for a loose-fitting dress. The lady passes the instructions on to the boutique owner, who readily agrees. In her mind, the girl apologizes to her, realizing that her sister has gotten a little too carried away, and Michael, standing nearby, is just as busy. After a while, Juliana thanks him for his help, because without him she might have been at a loss. Alan stands up and asks if they're done, to which he's told that they'll sew everything together first and then try it on. Cedric says that Lily will look beautiful in any outfit, and Juliana confirms this with a smile, since she's her younger sister. A little later, they go to see the children, and the main character thinks how carefree they are. While she was agonizing, they were calmly enjoying their time off. Juliana praises Lily for her efforts. Then she suggests they go eat some desserts, and the girl happily agrees. But she adds that she'll eat it later, after everyone has left, because she wants dessert specifically for dinner. She realizes that the others were clearly counting on something sweet, but let that be a lesson to them. After all, no one even asked how she was feeling. Sometime later, it feels to her as if all of this happened just yesterday. And finally, the day has come when she will try the desserts from the Imperial Palace. A little later, she's already on her way there with her sister. Juliana asks her to be sure to let her know if she wants to go anywhere, and not to go alone. The girl agrees. Lily thinks her sister should just pay attention to Cedric, but then she notices he isn't there, and just then someone calls out to Juliana. Cedric apologizes for being late, explaining that the road was blocked, so he walked, and left Joshua with Evans. The main character looks at his shirt and notices that the buttons have clearly had a rough time. Juliana calmly says that everything is fine. Then she asks him to lean forward slightly and fixes his hair. Cedric is embarrassed, and the main character thinks that there could very well be something more between them. A short while later, Alan and Michael approach. Alan compliments Juliana, saying she looks especially beautiful today, and Michael adds that she always does. He asks if the Emperor's speech has started yet, and the heroine notices that even the children are dressed up today. Michael suggests that the Emperor might not come, since it's only the second prince. The girl wonders if that's a reason to treat him differently. He's their age, but he's never shown up before, so she doesn't even know what he looks like. Looking around, she realizes that this place is like a real paradise. Cedric approaches Juliana, kisses her hand, and asks her to dance. The main character thinks it's easy to fall for something like that. It's almost a perfect move. But Juliana stays true to herself and simply agrees. She says she'll have a bite to eat with the guys for now. Juliana asks her not to stray far from Michael and Alan. The main character wants her sister not to worry and to just enjoy the evening. She doesn't plan on causing any trouble, though she is a little worried about Luca and Joshua. Aiden spots a chocolate cake and offers to bring her a slice. The girl agrees and thanks him. Michael says he wants to find something tasty for her too, and asks if he should wait here. Alan suggests doing it himself, and the main character realizes that they're just curious to watch Juliana and Cedric. She says she'll stay here so they can go, since she wants to try everything. In her mind, she realizes she's given them a chance. One of the guys reminds them that Juliana asked for someone to stay with the kids. Michael suggests that the other guy stay, but he says Lily will be fine. The girl thinks that Cedric would never have left her alone, and she's not sure how Juliana will react to this. She looks at Luca and asks where Joshua is. He replies that he left because he doesn't like crowds. The main character is puzzled by what he's talking about and jumps up abruptly. She realizes he should have told her before leaving. She immediately runs outside. She yells to Luke that she'll find Joshua quickly and come back, and that he should stay. He reminds her of what her older sister said, but she assures him she'll be back soon. A short while later, she's already out on the street, calling for Joshua and threatening that otherwise he'll be left without dessert next time. The girl realizes that if it gets any darker, it will be hard to find him, so she calls out to him again. As she walks down the stairs, she notices a blonde-haired boy, grabs him by the shoulder, and speaks to him. But when he turns around, she realizes she's made a mistake and doesn't know who he is.